let's talk about my favorite thing, which is new books. Hello fellow book nerds, this is Gabby and today we are talking about October 2022 releases. I am so excited. We're gonna go in the order of publications as per usual. If anything really tickles your fancy, let me know in the comments because then I can review it. Alright, let's get into it. First off, we're starting strong because I've been looking forward to this book for forever. And I also got an arc for it, so the wait will not be long. I am talking about Pretty Dead Queens by Alexa Donne, which is coming out on 4th of October. This is a YA thriller from the author Alexa Donne, who also wrote The Ivies, and then she also wrote some romance, but this is her second YA thriller. And I really like The Ivies. I really like Alexa Donne. I've watched her videos for a while. I think her videos are quite interesting insight into publishing. I'm not saying it's all be all and end all, but I was lucky enough to be accepted to be in her street team, I think it's called, or just like part of her promotional team for Pretty Dead Queens. So we've had a Slack channel going on and we got the book early, so I'll be able to read it. I've not read it yet, but I will read it before the book comes out, and there's going to be a dedicated review, so keep an eye out if you want to check that out. But let me firstly tell you what the book even is about. After the death of her mom, screw cancer, 17-year-old Cecilia Ellis goes to live with her estranged grandmother, a celebrated author whose Victorian mansion is as creepy as the murder mysteries she writes. On the surface, life is utterly ordinary in the California coastal town, until the homecoming queen is murdered. And she's not Seaview's first pretty dead queen. With a copycat killer on the loose, Cecilia throws herself into the investigation, determined to crack the case like the heroines in her grandmother's books. But the more Cecilia digs into the town's secrets, the more she worries that her own mystery might not have a storybook ending. The original title for this was Murder She Texted, and I think that's pretty funny. Not that I've ever read Murder She Wrote, but I think that's pretty funny. Second one is quite exciting. It's called Prince of Song and Sea by Linsey Miller, which is also coming out on 4th of October, and it's a YA fantasy retelling. And this is interesting because it's the first book in a series of retellings where the Disney fairy tales, Disney movies, will be retold from the perspective of the prince. And firstly, we're tackling The Little Mermaid, so this is going to be a story from Eric's perspective. And I thought the cover looked cool, and I kind of dig the concept, so I'm interested to see what's going to happen. And on the topic of Little Mermaid, how good is the trailer? I mean, the CGI... For me, CGI for mermaids peaked at Pirates of the Caribbean 4, but this is not terrible, and Ariel's voice, gorgeous, and like her whole ambiance looks amazing. I'm just like, why does she look CGI, How did they make mermaids look real in Pirates of the Caribbean 4, of all places? You make it look like CGI. I don't want it to be CGI, I want it to be real because I'm obsessed with mermaids. Anyway, okay, let's continue, shall we? Oh, let me tell you what the book is about, like the synopsis-wise. Before Princess Eric's mother, the Queen of Valona, went missing 2 years ago, she reminded him about the details of the deadly curse that has plagued her entire life. The curse? If he were to kiss... Oh, his entire life. Okay. She reminded him about the details of the deadly curse that has plagued his entire life. The curse? If he were to kiss someone other than his true love, he would die. With a neighboring kingdom looking for any excuse to invade their shores and rumors of ghost pirates lurking the seas, Eric is desperate for any information that may help him break his enchantment and bring stability to Valona. The answers he has been searching for come to him in the form of a letter left from his mother that reveals Eric must find his true love, the one with a voice pure of heart. How can a voice be pure of heart, but whatever. Or kill the sea witch responsible for cursing him in the first place. Now Eric is on a quest to find the Isle of Serene, the witch's legendary home, but after he is rescued by a mysterious young woman with a mesmerizing singing voice, Eric's heart becomes torn. Does he enter a battle he is almost certain he cannot win, or chase a love that might not even exist? And when a shipwrecked young woman with a flaming red hair and a smile that could calm the 7 seas enters his life, Eric may discover that true love isn't something that can be decided by magic. Sounds fun. I'm into it. Next up we have The Restless Dark by Erica Waters. So this one's coming out on 4th of October as well, and it's an LGBT YA horror. People say Cloud Kiss Canyon is cursed. It takes everything you give it. Murder, sins, secrets. 2 years ago, Lucy watched the Cloud Kiss killer leap into its depths after he attempted to murder her. The canyon took his life, but no one ever found his body. Now, Lucy is back, competing in a macabre contest hosted by a true crime podcast to locate the killer's remains. If she finds his bones, maybe his ghost will stop haunting her. She's not the only contestant hoping to leave something behind. Sweet-faced Carolina has a rage that prowls beneath her skin. Friendly, charismatic Maggie has a dark past she'd rather stay buried. The canyon takes everything you give it, but evil is hard to let go of. As the three girls are drawn together, the hunt for the killer's bones becomes something more. The longer they stay in the canyon, the more it whispers to them of their dark impulses, their wicked hearts. The longer they stay in the canyon, the easier it is to believe the whispers, and harder it is to leave. Next up we have The Sacrifice by Rin Chupeco. And didn't Rin Chupeco just come out with a book about vampires? Like, is this person not sleeping? How many books can you have a year? It's what? But it's also coming out on 4th of October, and it's a YA fantasy horror, so perfect for October. This is the synopsis. Pristine beaches, lush greenery, and perfect weather. The island of Kisapmata would be the vacation destination, if not for the curse. The Philippine locals speak of its hushed voices and refuse to step foot on the island. They know the lives it has claimed. They won't be next. A Hollywood film crew won't be dissuaded. Legend claims a dreamer god sleeps, waiting to grant an unimaginable powers in exchange for 8 sacrifices. The producers are determined to document the evidence, and they convince Alon, a local teen, to be their guide. Within minutes of their arrival, a giant sinkhole appears, revealing a giant baleti tree with a mummified corpse entwined in its gnarled branches. And the crew starts seeing strange visions. Alon knows they are falling victim to the island's curse. If Alon can't convince them to leave, there is no telling who will survive, or how much the dreamer god will destroy. Next up is The Wolves Are Watching by Natalie Lund. This is coming out on 4th of October as well, and it's a YA paranormal fantasy. And this is the synopsis. The night little Madison disappears from her crib, Luce sees a pair of eyes, 2 points of gold deep in the forest behind her house, and feels certain they belong to a wolf. Her town, Picnic, Illinois, is the kind of place where everyone knows one another, and no one locks their doors. It's not the kind of place where a toddler goes missing without a trace, where wolves lurk in the shadows. In town, people are quick to blame Madison's mom, but when Luce's English teacher shares an original script about the disappearance of another little girl in Picnic back in 1870, Luce begins to notice similarities that she can't ignore. Certain that something deeper is going on, Luce tracks the wolf she saw into the woods and uncovers the truth about her town. Magical animal women who have remained hidden in shadows for centuries, have taken her cousin for their own purposes, and they have no intention of bringing her back. It sounds really cool and has so few I want to read on Goodreads. You guys need to get on it. Next up we have Road of the Lost by Nafiza Azad, and it's coming out on the 18th of October, and it's a YA high fantasy, and what really intrigued me is that it says perfect for fans of The Cruel Prince, and I feel like that's a certain sort, and I might be that type of sort. So, Croy is a brownie, glamored to be invisible to humans. Her life in the wild forest is ordinary, and her magic is weak, until the day that her guardian gives Croy a book about magic from the other world, the world of higher fae. Croy wakes up the next morning with something pulling at her core, summoning her to the other world. It's a spell she cannot control or break. Forced to leave her home, Croy begins a journey full of surprises and dangers. For Croy is not a brownie at all, but another creature entirely, enchanted to forget her true heritage. As Croy ventures beyond the forest, her brownie glamour begins to shift and change. Who is she really? Who is summoning her? And who do they want? Croy will need every ounce of her newfound magic and her courage as she travels a treacherous path to find her true self and the place in the other world where she belonged. I do love a little bit of mysterious identity shenanigans, so I am excited. Next book is The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrews. So this one also is coming out on the 18th of October, and it's a YA paranormal fantasy. I feel like I said that many times. You can see my taste. Delaney Mayes Petrov is tired of being seen as fragile just because she's deaf. So when she's accepted into a prestigious program at Godboll University that trains students to slip between parallel worlds, she's excited for a chance to prove herself. But her semester gets off to a rocky start as she faces professors who won't accommodate her disability, and a pretentious upperclassman fascinated by Delaney's unusual talents. Colton Prince died when he was 9 years old. Quite impossibly, he woke several weeks later at the feet of a green-eyed little girl. Now, 12 years later, Delaney Mayes Petrov has stumbled back into his orbit. But Colton's been ordered to keep her away from a new girl, and the voices she hears calling to her from the shadows. Delaney wants to keep her distance from Colton. She seems to be the only person on campus who finds him more arrogant than charming. Yet after a Godboll student turns up dead, she and Colton are forced to form a tenuous alliance, plummeting down a rabbit hole of deeply buried university secrets. But Delaney and Colton discover the cost of opening the doors between worlds when they find themselves up against something old and nameless, an enemy they need to destroy before it tears them and their forbidden partnership apart. Very exciting indeed. Next up we have Night of the Raven, Dawn of the Dove by Rati Mehrotra. Coming out on 18th of October, and it's a YA historical fantasy as well. And I love the cover, it's so pretty. Katyani's role in the kingdom of Chandela has always been clear, becoming an advisor and protector of the crown prince Ayan when he ascends to the throne. Bound to the queen of Chandela through a forbidden soul bond that saved her when she was a kid, Katyani has grown up in the royal family and become the best guardswoman the Gardua has ever seen. But when a series of assassination attempts threatens the royals, Katyani is shipped off to the Gurukul of the famous Acharya Mahavir as an escort to Ayan and his cousin Bhairav to protect them as they hone their skills needed to be the next leaders of the kingdom. Nothing could annoy Katyani more than being stuck in a monastic school in the middle of a forest, except her run-ins with Daksh, the Acharya's son, who can't stop going on about the rules and whose gaze makes her feel like he can see into her soul. But when Katyani and the princess are hurriedly summoned back to Chandela before their training is complete, tragedy strikes and Katyani is torn from the only life she has ever known. Alone and betrayed in a land infested by monsters, Katyani must find answers from her past to save all she loves and forge her own destiny. Bonds can be broken, but debts must be repaid. I almost nailed that. Almost. But I did. Next up we have Strike the Zither by Joan, and it's coming out on 25th of October, and it's a YA historical fantasy. I have a type. Anyway, to be fair, I was looking at some adult books and I was like, why is nothing jumping out at me? I love reading adult books. I read so many adult books. Where are all the fantasies? Please text me. Maybe I just didn't look hard enough, which is very possible. I'm lazy. But this one also looks fun. The year is 1414. Oh, sorry. The year is 414 of the Jin dynasty, and chaos abounds. A puppet empress is on the throne. The realm has fractured into 3 factions, and 3 warlordresses hoping to claim the continent for themselves. But Zither knows it's no contest. Orphaned at a young age, Zither took control of her fate by becoming the best strategist of the land and serving under Jin Ren, a warlordess whose loyalty to the Empress is double-edged. While Ren's honor draws Zither to her cause, it also jeopardizes their survival in a war where one must betray or be betrayed. When Zither is forced to infiltrate an enemy camp to keep Ren's followers from being slaughtered, she encounters the enigmatic Crow, an opposing strategist who is finally her match. But there are more enemies than one, and not all of them are human. Despite the fact that the warlordresses is a very hard word, I am excited for some female warlords because that sounds amazing. And like 3 of them? Yes, please. And an empress. I love it. Bring it on. Bring it on. That's all I have to say about that. And 2 last ones are sequels. The first sequel is Into the Riverlands by Nghi, and this is book 3 and the last book in the Singing Hills cycle. I think it's a trilogy. I'm 90% sure it's the last book. And it's coming on 25th of October, and it's an LGBT fantasy novella. And basically, in each of the books, it's like short novellas, but we follow Chi, who's a cleric, and they kind of meet someone new that tells them a story in every book. And in this one, this is what the story is going to be about. Wandering cleric Chi of the Singing Hills travels to the Riverlands to record tales of the notorious near-immortal martial artist who haunts the region. On the road of Bethany Docks, they fall in with a pair of young women far from home and an older couple who are more than they seem. As Chi runs headlong into an ancient feud, they find themselves far more entangled in the history of the Riverlands than they ever expected to be. Accompanied by Almost Brilliant, a talking bird with an indelible memory, Chi confronts old legends and new dangers alike as they learn that every story, beautiful, ugly, kind or cruel, bears more than one face. I feel like Chi learns that stories are subjective and history is subjective in every book, but fair enough, fair enough. I'm excited for them to learn this lesson again and me learn along with them. So that's fun. And last book is The Atlas Paradox by Olivie Blake. So this one's coming out on 2nd of October and it's an adult YA fantasy. And this is the sequel to The Atlas 6, which was originally a self-published novel about a bunch of magicians competing in this very prestigious Alexandrian library or Alexandria society to become like the best magician and get into this very like exclusive group. And originally the book was self-published, but then it was really, really successful. So now it has been republished traditionally. And I am excited for the sequel, but I've not reread the traditional published version and I heard it's a bit different. So I might just jump into this one and be like, hey, do I even know what's happening? Probably not. But I'm excited. I wanted to let you know because that's like the most popular video on my channel, like me talking about the Atlas 6, so, you know, whatever. Maybe you're here because of that. Maybe you're excited. Anyway, those are all the books that I'm excited about. But please do let me know what books you're looking forward to, especially if you have any like good adult fantasy or something. I am starved. And also it's October. So like, what are we doing over here? Some scary books. So please do give me any recs if you have any. Are you excited about any of these books? Are you gonna read any of them? Do you want me to review any of them? Anything like tickles your fancy, sounds interesting, anything like that? I would love to know. But that's it for me. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, if you could comment, like, and subscribe, I really, really appreciate it. It really helps me out. But that's it from me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!